Hello there. Well, let's get more now on our top story that one of the country's leading pension providers has criticised the government's planned cap on pension management fees as being too high. Well, Legal & General has broken ranks with the rest of the industry and publicly announced that it thinks the government's planned cap on the fees levied on savers by the industry is still too generous. Well, the government believes the industry could be charging too much and suggests capping fees at 0.75%. However, Legal & General thinks this should instead be 0.5%. Well, let's talk now to Steve Webb, the Pensions Minister. He joins me live now. Many thanks for joining us here on the programme. It's pretty staggering, isn't it, that such a major player in the pensions industry believes that the government's got its fee cap wrong?
Well, we're in the middle of a consultation that's just about to end, and it is a genuine consultation. So at the moment, there is no cap on charges. Firms can charge what they want. We're determined to make sure people get value for money. We published a consultation with a range of options, and this is just one of the feedback that we've had. It's very welcome feedback because we're determined to make sure that millions of people in workplace pensions get value for money.
Yes, indeed. The government's talked about launching a full frontal assault on fees levied by the pension providers, some older schemes charging more than 2%. These are staggering, aren't they?
They are, and that's why over the last few years we've been passing laws through Parliament to give us all the powers we need to cap charges, not just on the new schemes people will be joining over the next few years, but also on the schemes people who've been in perhaps for decades paying very high charges. So the industry for too long has got away with high charges, and that's why we're determined to act.
And you're making big decisions on this today, this week. Are you planning to take on board the criticism of Legal & General? Are you going to think of reducing that cap?
Well, one of the things we have to look at is not just the headline charge, but also all the other things that happen when you join a scheme. So some providers have an attractive headline charge, but then when you leave the company, quietly the charges get jacked up or they move you to another scheme with a high charge. So we have to be careful we don't just squeeze one bit of the system only to see companies make up the profit somewhere else. So it's a complex decision. We plan to announce our decision over the next few weeks because we plan to implement the change from next April.
And of course, you've got other pension providers out there saying that any cap at all would be far too difficult and costly to implement.
And what we're trying to balance is we want competition in the market, and if you have a really low charge cap you might only have one or two providers, and in the long run that's not healthy. Some people argue that if you pay a bit more you might get a better value scheme, so we have to look at how far charges actually reflect value for money. These are the things we have to weigh in the balance over the next few weeks, but the bottom line is we want value for money for millions of pension savers.
Indeed, difficult decisions ahead. Steve Webb, Minister for Pensions, many thanks. Now, the oil and gas industry is being held back by a lack of information on the implications of Scottish independence. That's according to an industry survey today, which suggests a lack of information is hampering the firm's ability to plan beyond 2014. Well, Robert Collier is Chief Executive at the Aberdeen and Grampian Chamber of Commerce, which produced today's report. Many thanks for joining us here on the programme. In your report, you talk about how uncertainty over almost every aspect regarding Scottish independence is really frustrating the oil and gas industry. In what ways specifically?
Well, the sector is buzzing at the moment. There's a lot of activity going on, and there's a lot of oil and gas to get out of the North Sea. But the uncertainties are around the referendum scheduled for next year, around tax, around membership of the EU, and around all sorts of issues which we just don't know the answers to. More pressingly, at the moment, there simply aren't enough bodies to go around. We need more staff. All firms are recruiting. All firms are planning to recruit next year, but there's a shortage of skills.
And are these problems predicated on hedging your bets on a particular outcome of the referendum? From the point of view of the oil and gas industry, would a yes or a no vote be preferable?
There's no evidence of that. The issue is just one of uncertainty, and it's very important to say that is not affecting the performance of the sector at the moment.
OK, but oil and gas, of course, it's a huge revenue stream for Scotland. Is that in itself perhaps an argument for Scottish independence?
Well, not just Scotland. There are about 40,000 jobs in Aberdeen, about 120,000 in the whole of Scotland, but about 440,000 across the UK. The heart might be in Aberdeen, but it pumps blood around all of the economy throughout the whole of the UK.
OK, Robert Collier, many thanks for joining us.